Hilches Mechirah Perek Shleishim. Hamoicher shemocher karkei metaltelen, and v'zocha behem halikeach shlei midaite. Person is selling karka metaltelen, and he made up that he wants to sell it to a certain person. Ruvain owns a piece of karka or owns metaltelen, and he wants to sell it to Shimon. But Lepel, Shimon is not here. Shimon didn't make up that he wants to buy it. So it's through Levi, either Levi gives him a sudar, and through that they make a Maisa Kinyan for Shimon, or there's some type of, if it's metaltelen, so Levi makes a Maisa Agba on behalf of Shimon. There was a Maisa Kinyan made on behalf of this potential buyer, mitzad the moicher, but on the other end, he didn't make up with the buyer. The buyer is not the one that's making the Maisa Kinyan. So the din is at that point in time, Yada Lekech al Hilyena. The Yada Lekech al Hilyena. So therefore, so if the Lekech wants this kinyan to be chal, is Eina Mecher Yochel Lazar, because he made the kinyan. So as far as the Mecher is concerned, the kinyan is finished. However, Vim Leiratza, if the Lekech doesn't want, is Tazir L'Baleh. So it's Tazir L'Baleh. So the din is Zochel Adam Shlei B'Fonav. So he made a Maisa kinyan, but on the other end, if he doesn't want it, so it's not a schus. It's not a schus for him, for that person to make a Maisa kinyan against his will. So if he wants it, so it's in this gala, there was a schus, and it was a Maisa kinyan. So it was a Maisa Kinyan, Zochel L'Adam Shlei B'Fonav. If he doesn't want it, so Mele it's Nizgala, that it wasn't a schus. Mele, if it's not a schus, Mele it's not a kena. Because it's not a schus for a person to be kena, Shlei Midaite. Lefichach Kois von Star LeMecher, Aval Pishen Alikech Imei. Mecher says, I want to sell this karka to this and this person. And you write, or whatever, I want to sell an item to a person. So you write to the Mecher the Star. The Mecher is writing the Star, even if they write in the Star that we made a Maisa Kinyan on behalf of the Lekech. There was a Kinyan for the Lekech, V'konomine. But nevertheless, since the Lekech could always have Charata, so Memela, it's not binding for the Lekech, so there's no concern of giving the Star to the Mecher. Lefichach case from Star LeMecher, Aval Pishein Alekech Imei, because Lepel, even if they wrote that V'konomine, Lepel, the Lekech could be Chezer. Now, Le'elam Halekech, this is Nachadin, Le'elam Halekech Neschen Schara Sefer, V'afilu Mocher Sodeim Pnei Rosa. So when a person sells a karka to somebody, and Lepel, the sale goes through, and knows Lekech is masking for the sale, and there was a star for, so the star has to be paid by the Lekech, because the Lekech is the one, but when you buy in karkas, it's always considered the Lekech is being nana from the sale, and he's getting karka, and the Meicher is only getting mois, and karka is considered more choshev than mois. So Mele, the Lekech is the one that's being marviach over here, so to speak, and therefore he's the one that has to write the star. So that din is, the first din is that when a person is mezaka, makes a Maisa Kinyan to be mezaka someone, so he no longer can have charata because there was already a Maisa Kinyan. But on the other end, the lekeach, the recipient of this Maisa Kinyan, could have charata. You can't force a person to receive a Maisa Kinyan. V'chein, halacha beis, v'chein ha'evet shekana imocher inosan matana. You have an evet knaini, which makes a Maisa Kinyan, or he makes a sale of something that's owned by the odin, or he gives away a matana in litnule, or something was given to him, is in all these cases yad ha'odin al hulyena. So the yad al yadin al yena legabe the noisen, or to the mekabel. Imratze lekayim ma'asav. If the meicher is maskim that what the evet did should be chal, so then harei lekayom. However, if the odin is not maskim, is bottle called ma'asav. The odin knows the evet doesn't have a right to do any, not a ma'asa kinyan and not a ma'asa makna, without the rishus of the odin. Memele, he has a right to either be maskim to the ma'asim, or to say no, he's mevatel the ma'asim. There's all either by saying I'm maskim or by saying I'm not maskim. You don't need a new ma'asa kinyan from the odin. The kinyan was made through the evet, and now the odin either agrees to the kinyan or is mevatel the kinyan. Halacha gimel v'chein ha'isha shemachra inosna matana bein benichsi baila. She gave away nechasim that belongs to her husband. So it's partial, so it's not her. So certainly he could be mevatel that sale. We'll soon see. And bein benichsi tzim barzel sheichnisolei. Now the nechasim that a woman brings into her marriage, there could be two types of nechasim. There's nechasim which is called nichsi tzim barzel, which means that those nechasim are really transferred. The husband owns those nechasim. It's just that he has to pay her back in the case that he divorces her or that he dies. So that becomes part of the ksuba. Whereas the value of the nichse tzim barzel has to be reimbursed to the woman b'shas when he's paying the ksuba. So this din of Nichsitzin Barzel really is his money. It's his item, even though she brought it in. But Lepel, right now, it's his. So it's like giving benichsi baila. Nochmal, isha shemochri nosen matona. Bein benichsi baila. Bein benichsitzin barzel shechnisalei. Bein bedvarim sheyichad lebiksubasa knows if there was a certain karka, for example, that he designated that this is the karka that she should be able to collect her ksuba from, but right now that karka is his. Bein benichsi maluk, even benigay benichsi maluk, but Lepel, he has a right to eat the peiros of these nichsi maluk, and because he has a right to eat the peiros, so she has no ability to really make this sale without his consent, because Lepel, she's taking away from him the peiros. Bein bekarkois, bein bemetalton, all of this of the above is sai kark and sai metalton, and that's talking about if she went ahead and gave it away or sold it. If she went ahead and bought something or was given to her as a present, in all these cases is yada ba'ala malayena. In all these cases, if she sells something, say something that belongs to him, say something that belongs to him mamish, something that belongs to him because it's nichsitzim barzel, say it's something which he was miyachad b'ksubasa, something that's nichsi malug, which he has a right, which is really hers, but on the other end he has a right to eat the peiros. Say if it's karka, say metaltalin. Say even, so that was talking about when she gave something away. Say if she received something, whether a matana or she bought something, is always yad habal al yena. V'imrotza lekayim yikayim. If he wants to, that the sale, the sale or the acquisition that she made should be a good, should be held good. So memela is kayim, and emrotza levatel yevatel akel. He could be mevatel everything. He can mevatel the sale. He can mevatel acquisition. Now benegeya, all the things that the sale, we understand why he could be mevatel, because it's his. And even though nichsi mulug is really hers, but lepel, he has a right to the peiros, so therefore he can mevatel that sale because he has a right to the peiros. As far as when she buys something, b'pashta she bought it from her money, from his money. So memela l'chura, he can be mevatel the sale. But l'chura, if she was given something as a present, so l'chura, the item belongs to her. So ein achanami, he has a right to eat the peiros. But l'chura, the item is hers. So why can he be mevatel that matana? So the answer is because lepel, when someone gives a present, so in the present licht, that the item is going to be hers and the peiros are going to be his. And since he's not interested in that peiros, he's not interested in it, so he's like part of the shutif of this present. So therefore, and he's like a strong shutif in the present. So therefore, he can mevatel and say, I don't want the present. That's how the Mefarshim explained. Even Ozel explains that's why he can mevatel a present that was given to her. That's talking about Nachamos. So if an Isha went ahead and did any of this, either she sold or she got something, so the Baal could always be mevatlet. Avol HaBaal shemocher inosan ben karka shechnisu liishte b'ksuas. Now the din is that nichsitzin barzel is something which really belongs to the Baal, but on the other hand, the Baal doesn't have a right to sell it unless the Isha is maskim. If the Isha is not maskim, the Baal doesn't have a right to sell it. So what happened over here is that there was a Baal shemocher inosan ben karka shechnisu liishte b'ksubasa, which was karka, which was nichsitzin barzel, which he gave it to him as nichsitzin barzel. A karka shehichnis lo shum mishalei, whereas maybe she brought in metaltalin and he replaced those metaltalin with karka, that karka should have a din of nichsitzin barzel. Or ben karka sheyichad lo b'ksubasa, he designated that this karka should be miyuchad in order for her to be gave her ksuba. Is afal pi shekonu miyado isha acharkach shekiyin ma'asav. In other words, afterwards they made a ma'asakini with the isha that she was maskim to what her husband did, and memela lechura the kinyan should be a good kinyan. Nevertheless, they call mashas a bottle. Everything that he did is bottle. Mipnei shehi emeres nachas ruach asisi lebayli. So lechura, it's two separate dinim. The beginning of Halacha Gimel, Halacha Dal, the beginning of Halacha Gimel, end of Halacha Gimel. The Rambam writes one way in Avol. But l'chura is like different. But again, the first thing is pshat is because he's the balabos, and memela, if she does an act which lepel, he has to agree. So if he agrees, he agrees. If he doesn't agree, he doesn't agree. That's l'chura what it's saying over there. If she went ahead and did a maisa, and lepel, he doesn't agree, so memela, it's not an agreement. And lepel, if he does agree, it is an agreement. So memela, pshat, since he agreed, so that maybe in that prat it's aval, because over here the agreement works. If he's moiche, so it doesn't work, and if he agrees, it does work. Avol b'negea a Baal fakert. If the Baal did a maisa, which really he had no right to do without her eskama, and lepel later on she was maskim to this act, So here we say that her askama is not really a real askama, because we assume that the reason why she was maskim is because nachas ruach hasisi l'bayla. Halacha dalet. Now this is talking about that he sold the nichsetzim barzel, and then she was maskim, and now we say that she was nachas ruach hasisi l'bayli. However, mocher inosan nichse mulug, he went ahead and sold the nichse mulug, bein bekarkois, bein metaltlin, is over there. The din is a person's not allowed to sell the nichse mulug. He's not allowed to even sell his kinyan peiris in the nichse mulug. Because the whole musik of the kinyan peiris in the nichse mulug is in order that there should be revach in the house. That was the purpose of the takonis chacham. So if she's maskim, so he's maskim. Masha'in kain, if she's not maskim, he can't sell even his portion in the nichse mulug. Is mocher in nasim nichse mulug, ben bekarkois, ben metaltlin. Is over here is yadu isha lol yein. Rotzis a levatel mevatlet. So she be mevatlet. She can mevatel the whole sale of this nichse mulug. Certainly the sale of the gufa karka, and even the sale of the peiris. However, vimkia mamaseh, maiso, if she was mekayim, so then konu halakuchas, then the lukuchas were kind of why? Because over here we don't say nachas ruach hasisi l'bayla. No, it's like this. By nichsetzim barzel, be'etzim it's his. It's his. It's just that she has a schus that in case he divorces her, and in case he dies, so then it's going to go back to her. And as a result of that, he can't sell it without her permission. So here, he could have a time. Now listen, the karka is mine. Elamai, why are you stopping me from selling it? Because you want to be able to have it when I die, or when I'm going to give you a divorce. I mean, that's something which could create a argument. No, right now it's mine. Why can't I sell it? Masha'enkin by nichsit same barzel, it's hers. It's hers. It's just that he has a right to eat the peiros. So over there, it's a pashta zak that she could insist that she doesn't want to sell it. No, there's no tinus on his part. Why aren't you agreeing me to sell it? By nichsit same barzel, you could say that the reason why she agreed is because he has tinus to her. Why you're not agreeing, and that would create an argument, and therefore nachas ruach hasisi l'bayla, she agreed. Masha'enkin by nichse mulug, he doesn't really have a right to tie it to her anything, and therefore, so why did she agree? So she agreed. It must be that she agreed, and therefore her agreement is considered a good agreement. Just like when the husband agrees to something that the woman sold, so it's considered a proper agreement. So al derech zeh, if she agrees to what the husband did, it's also considered a proper agreement. Halacha hey, Baal shemocher metalton shenichsitzim barzel. If a Baal sold the metalton nichsitzim barzel, before we were talking about the karka. Masha'inkin over here we're talking about Baal shemocher metalton shenichsitzim barzel. A metalton shenosan le mishalei. So this again is a metalton which has a din of nichsitzim barzel. Is afal pishainer ashoy, really he shouldn't be selling the metaltolim of nichsitzim barzel. However, im avar u'mocher inosan is kono al lukuchas, the lukuchas work kaina. Ve'ein ha'isha yechela lahitzim miyodim, which is not like karka. By karka, she could be made some miyodim. And that's why the issue was that her agreement is not a real agreement. Masha'in came over here, by metalton, she can't be made some miyodim. V'chein, yesh lo ilabal limker kol nechasav. He's allowed to sell all his own nechasim, aval b'shein tachas yat shibud aksuba, even though she has a shibud over her nechasim, because lepel he owes her aksuba, so all his nechasim are meshuba to aksuba, but lepel, that doesn't prevent him from being able to sell the nechasim. And v'im tavi litref, if she's going to have to be teiref, is teirefes, she'll take from the lekuchas. Elim kain, kosva lekech tchila v'konim miyoda. In other words, if she wrote a star to the lekech saying that she doesn't mind, in other words, you could buy this karka and I won't be teiref from I'm being mavater, I might lean on this karka, so then that vitter is good. But that's only if she did that before the husband sold the karka. Mashenkin, if first the husband sold the karka and then she writes that star, so then that star is not binding, because again we say that star was because nachas ruach hasisi l'bayli. It really has to be explained. The Maggid Mishnah brings that this din, that her Ma'aseh Kinyan only works if the Ma'aseh Kinyan was before they sold it, before he sold it. So then, if she relinquished her lien, so then it works. Mashenkin, if she relinquished the lien after he sold it, so then she could tie nachas ruach hasisi l'bayli. You have to just understand the technicality, l'chura fakert. And before the sale, so the husband wants to sell. Elamai, he's tiny that he doesn't want to sell because the buyer doesn't want to buy because there's a lien from the Isha. So now they go to the Isha relinquishes her lien. So the Isha kataina nachas ruach hasisi l'bayli. Mashenkin, once the sale was done, so the sale was done. So at that point in time, the important time the sale was already done. So now if she relinquishes her lien, so l'chura fakert, at that point in time, l'chura, what's the taina nachas ruach hasisi l'bayla? What kind of taina does the lekeach have? It's already after the sale. Not sure. I mean, that's something, that's the halacha, but lepel, the din is that if it was before, so then her relinquishing her lien is binding. Mashenkin, if it was afterwards, it's not binding. You have to understand why. Halacha vov. Isha shemochra oinosna nichsitzim barzel lebayla is leikana, and v'yeshla lachzer lehetzim yodik mishabiyana bilchis ishus. Just like when she goes ahead and writes that this sale that he's making on the nichsitzim barzel is she's mavater on. So we say that it's only because nachas roch hasisi lebayli. So who adin, when she goes ahead and sells this nichsitzim barzel to the husband, it says like the husband is the complete owner of this nichsitzim barzel and she has no rights to it. So that also we say that that's not considered a binding agreement and therefore she could pull back on it. That's the number one. Then the Ram continues, Bezin shemochru a lokhu benichsis yisemim ben karka ben b'metaltalin. They sold or they bought in karka and metaltalin of nichsis yisemim v'china petrupsim ben shemina esem bezin, whether they were memuna through a bezin ben shemina esem avi yisemim, or the father of the yisemim was the one that appointed this apetrupis. So the din is mechomeka chumemkor memkar. So they have a right to sell and to buy. That's the din of apetrupis. The apetrupis deals with the nechosim. He manages the nechosim. Avol matanosam einam klum. Shein odem neisen davar shein shalei. In other words, they have a right to buy, they have a right to sell, but they don't have a right to give things away because matanosam einam klum. They only have a right to do things b'shvil apetrup, b'shvil ayisemu. What's tevis ayisemu? But stamazeh to give away a matana, that's not their rights. Halacha Zayin. Hamoicher ehanesim b'Shabbos. B'chal you're not allowed to do mekach umemkar on Shabbos. In other words, if you don't mention money, so then you're allowed to. If you take something from someone, you give something to someone, even though lepel you haven't mind to pay for it, but lepel, if there was no money mentioned, so that's beseder. Mashiach, if you make it's a sale, it's clearly a sale. I'm buying something from you, I'm selling something to you, and there's money mentioned, so you're not allowed to. Is hamoicher ehanesim b'Shabbos ve'ein tzarich leime b'yontiv. Is afal pi shemakane say, even though he gets malchus, but I know Malchus Mardus is talking about, he gets Malchus Mardus for doing an Issur D'Rabbanan, but nevertheless, Maisav Kayom. Lepel, the sale is a sale. In other words, even though he shouldn't have been selling, he shouldn't have been buying, but Lepel, Maisav Kayom. V'chein kol mi shekona miyada b'Shabbos, which also a Maisa Kinyan on Shabbos. In other words, even a Kinyan Suda is also Aser, because it's Deimel Mekach Memker. Nevertheless, so even though it's not you're allowed to do it, nevertheless, a Kinyan Kayim. And the case in Lachar Shabbos v'Neisten Lepil, you'll write a star after Shabbos about a kinyan that was made on Shabbos. You'll write a star after Shabbos that this karka was sold. Lepil, even though the kinyan was done on Shabbos, because the kinyan is binding, even though what he did, the kinyan was something which was a Issur D'Rabbanan, which you get for that Makas Mardus. The case in Lachar Shabbos v'Neisten Slikulu Hilchas Mechirah b'Sayayta D'Shmaya.